roll, please.
Amiano.
Here.
Bauer. Kissler. Here. Hall.
Here.
Moore.
Present.
Morse.
Here.
Place.
Here.
Quinn.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Seals.
Here.
Junior.
Here.
11 present.
Personnel. Now for item 5, we have 2 minutes to approve, one from our last meeting and one from closed session. So is there approval of our closed session minutes?
I move to approve the closed session minutes as presented.
Supported by, motion by Vice Chair Seals, supported by Commissioner Morse. Discussion? Do a roll, please.
Kissler.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Moore.
Abstain.
Morse.
Yes.
Place.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Seals.
Yes.
Junior.
Yes.
Amiano. Bauer. 10 yes, 1 abstention.
Thank you. Is there approval of our minutes from our last board commissioner meeting?
So moved. Support.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Quinn, supported by Vice Chair Seals. Is there discussion? Snow, will you call roll, please?
Hall.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes. Yes.
Morse.
Yes.
Place.
Yes.
Quinn.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Seals.
Yes.
Junior.
Yes.
Amiano.
No.
Bauer. Kissler.
Yes.
11 yes.
Personnel. Now we're on item 6, public comment time. We will now be entering public comment. Public comment is a time for commissioners to hear from the public. During this time, anyone may address the board on any topic. If you would like to address the board, please add yourself to the queue by selecting the raise hand button or by dialing *9 on your phone. Once selected, please unmute yourself by selecting the mute button or by dialing *6 and state your name and tell us where you're from. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. An audio timer will sound when your time is up. This is time to provide input in a professional and respectful manner. Deputy Morse. Is there anyone in the queue?
There is someone in the queue, Chair Hall. Can you repeat their instructions so that they can be heard? Actually, it appears they are on an old version of Zoom. So they would need to call in. So there is a public number in the packet. If they would please call in again, and we do have another person in the queue that we can take while they're calling in.
Hello, my name is Diana. I'm from Kalamazoo. I'm just would like to say I would like to definitely see more information released from the documents that MLive is asking for. I think that there's a lot of concerning stuff happening with someone that has to do with fitness for leadership. I think that the other thing is I've been, watching the county meetings for a few years, and we used to joke about how we would bring popcorn with us because it was fun. There was always something interesting that's going to happen, always some kind of drama that we were going to be able to talk about the next day. But this year, things are so serious. We've got a pandemic, and we've got police brutality. We've got all kinds of horrible things happening in our city and in our county. And I would like to see, this mess here, put to bed, take care of this, move it aside, and maybe the county can get to doing business instead of being so entertaining for us. This needed to happen and it needs to happen, but I think that there are a lot of things that are more important than what we have focused on in the past that we need to start getting down to business with. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in the queue.
All right, good evening. I'm hoping folks can hear me. Good evening. My name is Jacob Johnson, lifelong Kalamazoo resident, former Kalamazoo County employee. I just would like to call for so many reasons. First and foremost, as Kalamazoo County elected officials in government, I get transparency do as much as possible. And think it's obvious that we don't have a long way to go in that. The people of Kalamazoo County deserve full transparency when it comes to anything. So that's not really the ask, that's the end. I would also like to call in favor of the reparations resolution. The state of Michigan again has declared racism a public crisis. Government also declared racism a public crisis. If that is true, what are we doing for Blacks? What are we doing for Black lives in Kalamazoo specifically? And if we're not talking about reparations or specific Black agenda for Kalamazoo County residents, then we are not serious about addressing racism as a public health crisis. We can tell by weekend's events in Kalamazoo County that racism, whether overt or covert, and by overt I mean white supremacists terrorizing our local community, but I also mean the Kalamazoo County government and local boards that are perpetuating racist policies. If someone wants to talk about an example, right? Great government, right? Kalamazoo County. So what are we doing to be an example? In terms of addressing the specific racial disparities, in terms of leading with excellence, transparency, and in terms of even working with our city, right? How would a Kalamazoo County government use our city to address these issues, right? What about our health crisis, right? Social determinants of health. So Kalamazoo County, the city of Kalamazoo, what's up with our air quality? What's up with the Black and brown residents on the north side that have horrible air quality? And what are our local health officials doing about it? It's unacceptable. The disparities that we see are unacceptable, and y'all have to do better. Y'all have to do better. I'm a father of two, and I hope to continue to raise my children in this great county. But we have to do better. So I'm looking forward to talking more, looking forward to hearing more of this resolution that passes. Because it's time. If Black Lives Matter and if racism is a public health crisis, you all have to do better. And we are demanding full transparency to the utmost. Shout out to the Honorable Stephanie Moore.
Thank you. Next caller. Yes, thank you.
Board, my name is Jen Strebs. I'm resident of Kalamazoo County and trustee in Kalamazoo Township. I am again here to just uplift so many of the comments that we've heard already. First and foremost, about the real business that needs to be handled, I want to just encourage this board to support the reparations resolution. It's time to really have a dialogue and craft a framework to address the disparities within our community and make sure that we are lifting up everyone that lives in Kalamazoo County in recognition that that is a benefit to everyone and that racial and social justice is a responsibility of government. And if we are addressing racism as a public health crisis, then now just is simply the time to act. So let's get that work done, I hope. Also, I would like to encourage all of the members of our board to seek transparency. MLive put in a Freedom of Information request and received back materials that were heavily redacted. And this board needs to set the tone about what governance and communication with our community will look like. Whatever the documents hold, whether they bring forth concerns about inappropriate behavior, or if they assert that those issues are not a concern, those documents need to be brought forth to the public to make that determination. That's a cornerstone of a functioning and healthy and appropriate democracy. I believe that this board must do the right thing to allow the people to make informed decisions about what our governance is doing, what our leadership will look like, and to help understand how to hold us as elected accountable. So I encourage us to vote tonight to release the documents. Otherwise, the board is simply going to be facing litigation that ultimately will probably gain the release of documentation, but without stepping forward and doing that in a proactive way, it just continues to damage the credibility of the relationship between the government and the people. And that's the last thing that we want. So let's take those steps. Let's move forward in a positive way together, in an informed way and in a transparent way. And let's move forward towards justice. Thank you.
Next in the queue.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, this is Sherry Weber. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk. It's been a while since I have called in or spoken at one of your meetings, so it's good to see your faces again. I am calling for two reasons. I am calling in support of the reparations resolution. I am a white mom raising two Black daughters. For those of you who don't know, I think many of you do. And so one of my areas of focus has been really learning and doing a lot of my own work in anti-racism. And what I have learned is that there is a ton of healing that needs to be done in the Kalamazoo community. And I'm not convinced that at a county or even at a city level, we have really reckoned with that. I'm not sure that we understand how much healing is required and what the steps are that are required to do that. And reparations is a key component of that healing. We need to do a lot more work in this area, and reparations is a tangible step that shows that we are taking this seriously and that we are not trying to just say the nice words but not do the work. So I am calling in support of the reparations resolution. And secondly, it's funny to me that I even have to say, you know, let's tell the whole truth and not keep secrets. It feels like something that I used to say to my, my kids, like when they were really little. I now have teenagers. They're not really little anymore. And so it's strange to me that I would even have to say, you know, when I saw these redacted documents, I thought, oh my goodness, like somebody is trying to hide something there, and it doesn't feel very good. I think that it's important that you set an example for the community, that you lead with transparency and openness and telling the whole truth. And so I would ask that you please do that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to the next person in the queue, I just want to reread the instructions for comment time. Just remember, just getting to the, so if you would like to address the board, please add yourself to the queue by selecting the raise hand button or by dialing *9 on your phone. Once selected, please unmute yourself by selecting the mute button or by dialing *6, state your name, and tell us where you're from. All right, next caller, or next person in the queue. I'm a game show.
Chair, the current caller needs to unmute themselves.
Do you mind dialing *6 to unmute yourself? Or, oh, thank you, I see.
Hi, my name is Khadijah Brown, and I'm a resident of Kalamazoo, Michigan. I am calling to express my disgust with the urgency to support Black Kalamazoo residents during the pandemic with the health crisis and racism. I support the reparations resolution, and I also officials to stop with performative conversations and agendas when it comes to racism and holding our city officials accountable. We have to stop putting money over people, profits over people, and lead with transparency, empathy, and love to build a better Kalamazoo. I am also demanding transparency from the board and hold elected officials accountable with the release of the documents that MLive is asking for. We are wasting funds, concentrating on personal affairs that should not mix with city business. And now that it is, we must see all documents so we can start building accountability with the city of Kalamazoo and our residents, not just the ones who put the money up. History is repeating itself before our eyes, and the effects is harming the bottom of the totem pole the most. And historically, it has always been the African American, Black and Brown communities. So please, not only hold your colleagues accountable, but hold yourselves accountable with leading the city of Kalamazoo. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in the queue.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
So I just wanted to say that I live in Portage. My name is Caitlin, and I support the Reparations Act or resolution. I'm a white American, and I know that I've got a lot to learn, but from what I have learned about what injustices have occurred over 400 years against the Black community, it's time for reparations, and I support that. Secondly, I am curious about what is in the documents now, hearing about all this talk. So I think those are two really important things that need to be done. Also, I'm a little bit concerned about what occurred a couple weeks ago in downtown Kalamazoo. I know that the Portage Police were involved and the Kalamazoo County Police, and I wasn't very pleased with the disorganized way that the police went about really harassing and arresting people that should not have been arrested, and then letting a white supremacist group that was hurting our people leave, escorted them, showed them favor. Well, when we protested as Black Lives Matter people, we were like assaulted and harassed by the police. It was just like they laid out a red carpet for the white supremacists. So that's kind of crazy to me. But also I'm not pleased just in general. So I don't know how much Kalamazoo County was involved or the Portage Police, but if they are responsible for like arresting the anybody that should have not been arrested, that they be held accountable for that too. Or if the county prosecutor needs to do something, they need to be held accountable. So that's what I've got to say. And again, I support the Reparations Act. I think that's fabulous. It's time to actually do something rather than just talk about it. So thank you.
Thank you. Next in the queue.
Hello,
Hi
this
there.
is Sona Escoga, and I live in Kalamazoo County. And I'm calling because I believe the documents should be available to the public, which they should have been released way before the primary election in August. They should have been made public for us to see way beforehand. I also believe that our Black and brown electees and our Black and brown ones that are running for office should also be treated with respect and treated fairly as their white counterparts. I believe that in Kalamazoo, there's so much racism going on with the people that are in power. What happened this weekend shouldn't even happen. We put a lot of our homeless and our Black and brown people in harm's way just to make a point that the police and you guys are racist. You need to fix this problem because it's way out of hand. You should not be treating our Black and brown people, electeds, or anybody that's running the way that you guys do. They are just as equal as you guys are.
Thank you. Next in the queue. Hello?
There, that's it. There's no one else in the queue.
Thank you, Administrator. All right, item 7. Are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda as presented? Seeing none, is there a motion to support the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Chair, support? Supported by Commissioner Morris. Any discussion? Personnel, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Moore,
Yes.
Morse,
Yes.
Place,
Yes.
Quinn,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Seals, Tunier,
Yes.
okay, Tunier,
Yes.
Aniano, Bauer,
Yes.
Gisler,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
11 yes.
Thank you, Personnel. Commissioner Gislert, do you mind reading the first 3 communication items A, B, and C? Oh, no, there's number 1, too, I'm sorry. Number 1, then A, B, and C.
Okay, I'd be happy to, and I'll stop there. An email concerning the protests in downtown Kalamazoo. Notice of a public hearing on facilities tax exemption for Zoetis, emailed August 13th. B is a resolution for a public hearing notice for facilities tax exemption certificate for Graphic Packaging International, Inc. That was emailed August 12th. And C, various reports from Discover Kalamazoo, emailed August 11th.
Thank you, Commissioner Gislert. Does anybody else have any communications? Commissioner Morris, then Commissioner Quinn.
Public hearing notice.
So I received the communications that everyone else has described regarding the FOIA hearing as well as the reparations emails. I also received several emails regarding the reduction in pumping out at Eagle Lake as the flooding is ongoing there.
Thank you. Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you. In addition to the emails supporting resolution on reparations and supporting revealing the FOIA information, I received an email from a constituent who told me that his email name had been used without his permission to advocate for the resolution on reparations.
Thank you, Commissioner Quinn. Vice Chair Seals.
I received that same email that Mike Quinn, Commissioner Quinn got. Thank you.
Commissioner Gislert, is your thumbs up or your communication?
My thumb was up to indicate I received that same email. And I received a following email that said that first one wasn't me.
Thank you. Commissioner, Moore.
Thank you, Chair Hall. Just in reference to the email that is talked about, I received the first email, I believe it was from Dan Jambrowski, whatever, who was in support of it. But then he responded to the exact same email, replying to it, saying that he got a call from Commissioner Quinn about it. And then he emailed back and said that he does not support reparations. I think there was a request about looking into his email being hacked, but I'm not sure how that would happen when he was responding from that same email to being pro and being against it. And I don't know if that's our responsibility to look into if someone's email was hacked.
Anyone else? Mr. Bauer?
Thank you, Chair. I received a number of communications about the reconstitution of the Solid Waste Committee, Oversight Committee.
And I don't know if that's our responsibility. Thank you, Commissioner Bauer. Sorry, I was heard some background noise. Anybody else? I too would like to echo that. Yeah, Commissioner Aniana, I'm hearing feedback as well. I think it stopped though. I too have received the several emails that many of you have mentioned regarding the resolution or proclamation on reparations, and then the FOIA request. All right. Moving on. Okay, so now we're on to the reports. We're on item letter D. We have Michelle and Amber here to do a CAA overview, and you all should receive their presentation in the packet as well. Amanda, can you let us see Amber and Michelle? See you both.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here today.
Michelle, could you hang on one quick second?
Sure.
Administrator, you had your hand up.
Amanda will be sharing the screen for the PowerPoint so that everyone can see that. I just wanted to tell everyone that that is occurring because then commissioners will not be seen, but it will be the entire screen that's the presentation. So just so that you are all aware.
Thank you. My apologies, Michelle. Take it up.
Okay. So I just wanted to say thank you for putting time on your agenda tonight to listen to our update to the commissioners. Amber Leverett will be presenting the detail of the presentation to you today.
Thank you.
Okay, we can start on slide 2 under the cover slide. Thank you. Okay, again, thank you for giving us space on the agenda tonight to give you some updates since we were last here in November, I believe. So just a brief agency overview. Again, we serve 5 counties, Kalamazoo, Calhoun, Branch, Berry, and St. Joseph counties. Our Kalamazoo office is now located at 4239 South Westnedge. So we've been here since the end of last summer. We had our open house in October, and we currently have 7 employees in the Kalamazoo office. You can go to the next slide. So since we were here last, we have added 4 Kalamazoo representatives to our governing board. We have Luchara Wallace, Randy Thompson, Juliana Hafner, and Elizabeth Garcia. So they fully represent the Kalamazoo area in our tripartite structure of our board. Next slide, please. So now we're going to do some programmatic updates. Our weatherization program, we are back up and running since COVID restrictions have loosened a little bit for that program. And we have completed 40 weatherization jobs since we transitioned over in January from the county. Next slide. Our CSBG program. So this again is since January 1st, 2019 up until August, the beginning of August. With our CSBG funds, we have seen 173 clients. These are completed files, paid out files to the utility company. We have seen 150 rental clients, and we are still running our educational assistance program, and we have assisted 13 clients in that program. We've also received CARES funding for the COVID pandemic. So that started a couple months ago. We have 23 completed clients for utility assistance, 24 for rental, and we were also able to do some minor home repair, which takes a little bit longer in completing the file and getting the client through the process. So we have one currently that has been completely finished. And we were also able to receive United Way grants in the last year. So we were able to assist 66 clients with utility assistance and 9 clients for rental in that program. Next slide, please. So our dollars spent since January 1st, 2019, and this is direct assistance to our clients in the Kalamazoo area only. So this lists all of our grants that we have received in the last year and a half. So we've spent about $244,000 in our Department of Energy weatherization, $116,000 for our weatherization, our LIHEAP funds. And we have 2 cycles of our regular CSBG running. So fiscal year 19, we had $141,737 in direct assistance. And fiscal year 20, we're at about $48,581 currently. And then our CARES funds, we've spent about $57,000 already. And then we also received CSBG-D, which is a subset of the CSBG funding. We spent about $79,000 and then $70,000 in United Way. And Project Connect, we spent about $679 on direct clients. We do get a lot of donations for that event. So in total, in the last year and a half, we've spent $780,439 on direct client assistance to Kalamazoo residents. So some of our demographics, I just looked at our CSBG program for this presentation tonight. It is a pretty good representation of what our demographics look like for all the programs we run in Kalamazoo County. And this is from January 1st to the beginning of August. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So gender. Male heads of household, as opposed to 79 male heads of household. Next slide. So now here we look at race and ethnicity. Our Hispanic numbers actually have increased. No, this doesn't look like a lot, but 10 is quite substantial compared to what we've had in the past. And our non-Hispanic numbers are 336. So looking at past data, we may have had 100 and some identify as not Hispanic, and then 1 person identified as Hispanic. So it's a pretty decent increase compared to what we've seen before. And then race, 276 of our clients identify as Black or African American. accurate representation of what we've seen in past years, especially for the 49048 zip code. So that is the information we have for you tonight in the slides, so I can we can take any questions.
Sorry, I muted myself. Presentation. Does anybody have any questions for Amber or Michelle? Mr. Bauer, then Commissioner Moore.
I think Commissioner Bauer might be muted.
There we go. Thank you for your patience. Ms. Williamson, I just have a couple questions. But first, thank you for all your work for folks. You named off some of the zip codes in District 2, and I just want to say thank you for your continued support. The first one that I think is most important to all of us on this committee is understanding how the funds that have been allocated to Kalamazoo County have changed since the merger of Calhoun County and Kalamazoo County and the third. Can you give us like kind of a basic longitudinal analysis of that?
Sure. So we are continuing to receive the funds from the Bureau of Community Action, which is the state oversight agency, in a separated manner for Kalamazoo County, and we are tracking those separately. So the Amber, like when you saw the presentation today, we would be able to report those dollars spent in Kalamazoo County. So we have not changed any allocation pieces that have come to the state. It has stayed the same as it had been previously, except we have added funds. United Way was not something that the county had access to before we became the fiduciary for the work. So that was all new dollars for Kalamazoo Community Action Agency. And then we also had some additional funding that we received from the state. The CSBGD that Amber mentioned was additional dollars. That was almost $80,000 of additional money that we received from the state for Kalamazoo that hadn't been there previously with the county. And that, so nothing has really changed as far as the allocation from Kalamazoo and how it's being spent. And we're tracking it all separately in our accounting records. So that amount that you saw, almost $800,000 of direct service, is a fairly significant percent higher than what they had when they were in the county department.
Chair, can I follow up? Great, thank you. So, Ms. Williamson, it is the case that the funding has actually increased for our county.
That is correct.
Okay. Chair, can I ask some follow-up questions? Okay. So, oh, it's okay. So I'm glad to see that you are distributing funds in an equitable way. But one of the things that was glaring to me was the low number of Hispanic and Latino residents that were receiving services, and we know that they are also some of the most vulnerable people in our community. And so, have you thought about whether your messaging or your outreach is hitting that population, or do you have maybe some information on how or why that is?
So actually, when we first looked at the demographics of what the county was serving as far as the Hispanics and Latino population, and when they first moved over and we provided those first about 6 months of services, we found that the Latino population was very underserved. So one of the things as we added board representation to our board is we reached out and partnered with El Concilio to actually put a Hispanic board member on our board. And Elizabeth Garcia is also a Hispanic person who had previously been a part of our board, but has a great tie to the Hispanic community and has helped with the messaging. The other thing that we did was work with El Concilio and BOCES, both organizations that focus on the Hispanic population, to translate our documents and some of our advertising and marketing outreach into the area. We're actually getting ready to start a memorandum of understanding with El Concilio directly, but we have been having kind of a direct conversation about how to capture and best reach that population as we provide our services. We've actually, since that first 6 months of service, when that department transferred over, we've had an increase of about nine individuals in the Hispanic community accessing our services. We do understand with working with that population that they are very concerned because of some of the the Washington administration policies that are in place. They are concerned about using federal funding that may affect their immigration status. And so there has been a lot of conversation and education to that population about what services would affect their immigration status and which wouldn't. So we are working to overcome that in some of our policies and marketing and translation of services. It's definitely still a work in progress, and it is important to make relationships within that community in order for trust to be built.
Thank you. And just one more, if I can share, if that's possible. Thank you. So you mentioned funds that you received from the United Way in both rental assistance and utilities. Now, I know that those funds are endowed at the Community Foundation and that the United Way is charged with distributing those. So is that a set allocation that you are that you rely on, that you have an agreement to distribute those, or is that kind of like an application process that a determination is made?
So United Way has grant cycles that we have to apply for the money. And each grant cycle, actually each funding cycle, one of the grants that we receive is under a 3-year cycle, and one is a 1-year cycle. So every year in the utility assistance side, we write a grant application. And depending on what the fundraising is for the year is what affects that total grant amount. And then on the rental side, it is a 3-year grant cycle. And each year they look at what the fundraising cycle is and what their pot of money is to distribute overall to determine what the total annual allocation is to all grantees, including us. So we do rely on that, or have added that into the services in Kalamazoo, and as long as that is available, it has been something that is an identified need that Kalamazoo residents need access to, and so we have been able to procure those grants.
Thank you, Ms. Williamson. Appreciate all your work. Thank you, Chair.
Sure.
Just a couple of questions, and maybe Administrator Moore would help me to best understand that, because I thought, and I may be wrong, I don't have the documents in front of me, I can go down to my basement and grab them though, is that when county government was the home of CAA, in terms of grants for the state, we were getting close to $1 million, if not maybe a little bit more change. And the difference is that part of it had to pay for some of our overhead fees or costs and rent and all this other stuff. And then about 700,000, if that, actually flowed to the community. Is that somewhat right or no?
Administrator Moore?
Thank you, Chair. Just to, I guess, clarify the $1 million, we typically would receive $800,000 plus. It was carryover money that was not spent that would be carried to the following year. So several years it would appear there was $1 million because 200,000, it usually was about 200 to 280,000 would be carried to the following year. So there would be $1 million allocation, but that's because the prior year we could not spend all the funds. And maybe Amber or Michelle can comment on whether there's carryover now, but that's where the $1 million number came from is that the carryover piece consistently carried over.
So that's not quite where I was getting to. I'm assuming that my colleague is asking some questions, has some comments that I've made previously in terms of the difference in the dollars. And so I guess the question is, what's the difference in terms of the state allocation? Kalamazoo County had traditionally got $800,000, $700,000 a year, regardless of it carried over or not. What was the annual allocation versus what is the annual allocation now?
Administrator? Oh.
I don't have the numbers to compare. I know that each year we received about $800,000 total. That included staff for distribution. We ran into indirect costs. But the dollar amount from the state was similar to the amounts that we're talking about that they currently receive, but it sounds like there's an additional. It may be the staff cost piece. That was the separate budget that may have been $1 million, but the state funding piece sounds very similar.
Okay.
Amber probably could comment on that.
Usually when we did the yearly budget, after taking out indirect costs and staffing and anything that would come out with that, we'd have, for direct services, we'd have $60,000 to $70,000 maybe. And then we'd have the carryover that would come on that could be about $100,000 depending on how many years they were carrying over. Now they kind of do carry over, but we're in a 2-year grant cycle. They have moved to 2-year grant cycles, which has allowed us to move that carryover, to move those funds through 2 years. So it reduces some of that, what we have seen before. Anything else to add on that, Michelle?
So the numbers that we put in the PowerPoint slide are the specific assistance dollars only. There is still additional allocation in total for the budget that comes as a part of the grant in total. So that pays for the staff salary. Amber mentioned 7 staff in the Kalamazoo office. So that administrative dollars are still coming to us also. It's just the budgets overall have grown.
Okay, and just in terms of the dollars, I'm sorry, I don't have the screen that you shared with us in front of us, but it was just shy of 800,000. And it also included grant funding that actually helped to supplement that, what the state funding was giving.
That's correct.
Okay, so either we're not comparing apples to apples, or there is some, even if it's a small difference, there's a difference from the 800,000 that we saw at county government versus the close to 800,000 that you're seeing now, which pushes that up, is private dollars outside of the state funding.
Right. We showed you the total specific assistance dollars that we gave to Kalamazoo. I didn't report to you the whole amount of allocation that we got for the county. Like the amount, Amber, you can help me because I don't have all the history of the county, maybe. We provided a certain amount of specific assistance out of those total county funds. Is it about $200,000 more with community action than was at the county?
Yes.
If you're comparing apples to apples as far as specific assistance, we spent in this year and a half or so around $200,000 more in specific assistance.
But that was directly allocated from the state, not grant funding.
No, some of that included the grant funds. That 800,000 or so included the grant funds that were from United Way.
And the unique or the great thing about CAA living in a nonprofit is because that allows you to leverage more dollars outside of or in addition to what you get for the state. So I get that. I just don't. I apologize that you were kind of using this kind of back and forth. My questions though is about the programs that are they similar to some of the things that were happening previously, like for education, for transportation, those, I saw that you had some of the things that the dollars were allocated from. I was just wondering the unique programs that were here some time ago, if that carried over, if it still exists.
The education program absolutely carried over. Sorry, Michelle. Has carried over. And we're still taking applications for fall semester for enrolled students. So send them our way. But that definitely carried over. We still have utility assistance and weatherization, of course, and rental. With the CARES dollars, we have some minor home repair now. And what else am I
Property tax assistance.
Property tax.
The burial services for people who have had a loved one pass that are low income and need assistance there. That is all from the COVID CARES Act that came.
Okay, so just
yeah, we are running similar programs to what you encountered when we were in the county government. Okay. Not some of the health department specific programs, but many similar lines as to what was there before.
Awesome. So Chair Hall, just a couple quick more questions. One is around, and when you say the CARES Act, that's the separate federal funding that was coming to help during the pandemic. So I just want to be clear, as myself and other people are following the dollars, just in my mind being clear where some of these dollars are coming from. When you mentioned the tax in terms of homes, and helping folks to overcome foreclosure during the tax. I did a lot of work in the outer counter, in the rural areas, of working one-on-one with families there. So it was kind of glaring to me that there isn't more either a need for help or connection of help to people in the rural communities where poverty is even as great or more as the city. So can you talk a little bit about, is there different organizations that are helping those folks out there, or is there just some more strategy need to happen to get these dollars and resources to the rural community?
I know when, we had similar conversations when we were a part of the county, and I know like South County Community Center does help with some of those things, but we are still going out to the out counties. Angela Anderson is still doing the outreach. We meet with the township supervisors to get our information out there. So that's still something that we are working on a regular basis to make sure we are getting this information out. So that's, if we need to keep doing more, we're going to keep doing that, because then the numbers are lower in the out county zip codes for services. But I think with Comstock Community Center can help with some items. Sometimes they do. I have been getting more calls with referrals from those places. So we will continue to add them into our outreach and continue to go to outreach to them on a regular basis.
Awesome. And then I know.
The other thing that we did as a part of our rental assistance program is we not only reached out to the different community centers to make some contacts there, just to talk about the funding that was available, but we also reached out to some of the landlords and housing complexes throughout the county to let them know that the rental assistance was available to them. And so that direct call to landlords have been very helpful in providing referrals into that program. But certainly more information and strategic planning out into those rural areas of the county is very helpful. So we do need to continue to work on that.
So Chair Hall, I also noticed in their graph that the highest number of folks receiving services were in 001 and 048, which that is District 2, probably 2 and 1, and for 01 and 048 east side, which is District 1. And noticing that in both of those county districts, there is a high number of Latinx residents in that area. There's also a Hispanic organization that is based on the east side and is very Margie Deanda, who is doing outreach and service connection every single day in that area. I wonder if there's a way you can connect make connection with those folks and those residents, because I'm sure that some folks could utilize those definitely those essential services. And then I'm wondering, in terms of senior and senior services, with groups like the Ecumenical Senior Center, is there still partnerships and relationships in place there to help with food assistance and transportation and whatever those senior needs are? And then lastly, my question would be about the rental. You talked about the rental assistance, where now the things are lifting. I'm getting calls every single day with people saying that they are facing eviction, but when I'm referring them to CAA, I'm getting feedback from people saying the funding is not available. And I heard Ms. Williamson say we were offering, so I may have misunderstood you. So just wanted to get clarification in terms of if there is eviction, prevention, eviction funding assistance available through offers services that you have through the.
So we are taking new applications for rental right now. There are times where we do have to shut it down for a week or so to get through some of the applications that we have. So that may have been when some of the calls came. So we are working through those funds right now. So if they call this week, we can start the process with them. And then as far as the seniors, we don't have any direct, like we used to with Ecumenical. We are not supporting with the food at this time, but that is also another spot that Angela is continuing to do outreach per her normal schedule with their partners, our senior partners.
Anything else? Anything further, Commissioner Moore?
No, thank you. And thank you, ladies, for taking some time to answer my questions.
Commissioner Lace, does anybody else have their hand on? I don't want to miss anybody. Okay. Vice Chair, then Commissioner Rogers. So Commissioner Place, Vice Chair, Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for taking time today to speak with us. This is all really interesting information. And one thing that I did, before our call tonight was just take a look at the programs you all put forth out on the website. And I will have to say, clicking on every single program and then seeing, this is available in Branch, this is available in Calhoun, this is available in St. Joe. I didn't see a whole lot of programs that were available in Kalamazoo. Is there a particular, if I'm, going to the website and I'm a Kalamazoo resident, I really want to see what the programs are for Kalamazoo in its entirety. Is there like a menu of available programs for each county? Is that something you could share with us? I think, Commissioner Moore pointed out that there were some of the programs that you all mentioned in the presentation, such as the transportation and the weatherization. Looking on the website, I don't see that those are available for Kalamazoo residents. So I guess I'm just looking for a menu of available programs for Kalamazoo County.
Okay. So we are actually right in the middle of redoing our website to hopefully make it a little more user friendly. I'm hoping in the next month that it will be out, because I know there is a lot to go through and it's kind of hard to do it in the format that it is right now. Plus having the mobile access for the mobile devices with the new website format is going to happen as a part of this update. So hopefully that will be a little easier. Weatherization is available for community, for the Kalamazoo community. Transportation is not. Transportation is only available through our organization in Calhoun because it's funded through the senior millage program there. We do have a one-page brochure that lists all the programs available and in what county they are available, which might be very helpful, and we can certainly email that to the commissioners so that they have that available and you can see what just on one page is available in Kalamazoo. And like I said, once the website is up, it will probably be a lot easier to navigate as far as that goes too. So weatherization is available for Kalamazoo.
Okay, thanks. Yes, that would be very helpful. You know, as a just going to one site to see. I'm a Kalamazoo resident because that's how we're classifying where folks are getting assistance. So I can, instead of going through every single county to see if it's if I get assistance, that's really helpful. Thank you, and thank you for what you're doing and providing us an update tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Place. Vice Chair Steels?
Thank you, Chair. Ladies, my first question has to do with 4906 or 006, which happens to be the Westwood neighborhood. It seems kind of high, 54 or whatever it was on your sheet. It isn't someplace that was high in the past. I think Amber probably knows that, but it seems like it's picked up quite a bit in Westwood, which means a lot of middle income people are having trouble struggling right now. Is that true, Amber?
One thing that I did not mention at the beginning, so our CSBG funding traditionally has been 125% of the federal poverty level. With the COVID pandemic, it has now been increased to 200%.
Oh,
so that could be where we're seeing that increase in a zip code that's not traditionally that high in numbers.
Right. Well, that's great. I mean, that's great to hear that, people from all over the county are able to get assistance because, as we know, this is a really trying time. And I'm sure you guys are in the front line of that. But I want to say thank you to Amber specifically because I believed in her and I've always believed in her. And I know she did a great job then and she'll do a great job now. But I want to thank both of you ladies for continuing to support our community. I've had many contractors that have been hired now that are very happy with the process on being able to do weatherization now and to be able to install furnaces and stuff. They are ecstatic about the work that you guys are doing. So I really wanted to spread that word to you because they tell me all the time how grateful they are that you guys are in the system and helping them provide a good service to our citizens. So thank you. Appreciate all your hard work and please pass that on to your staff.
We will. Thank you.
Vice Chair Seals. Commissioner Rogers?
Thank you for the update and thank you for meeting with Commissioner Hall and I a while ago. You have a beautiful facility. Thank you for the invitation to the open house as well that you had sent along to us. I have a couple of questions. One, you mentioned Calhoun and the senior millage. Can you explain, is it part of their RFP process versus ours, or what are the differences? Because we have a senior millage too. So could you touch on that a little bit?
In Calhoun County, they have a senior millage and they have a senior millage allocation committee that is run by the county. They put an RFP out for services, everything from meal support to transportation to prescription assistance. Many different services are provided by that senior millage in Calhoun County. They're pretty unique in that. And we respond to the RFP. We've been doing some of their senior programming for a number of years. So at that millage specifically, we provide transportation services. We do some specific senior assistance around utility assistance and heating assistance. And then we also have a minor home repair program that deals specifically with senior needs, whether that's code compliance issues or safety compliance pieces, ramps, grips for the bathroom, more accessibility, that type of thing. So that's how that works in Calhoun County. It's an RFP that's released by the county that we bid on.
Thank you. My understanding, maybe Chair Hall could ask administration, but my understanding is we have a very similar RFP process. So just curious what's different with ours versus theirs, or was it a matter of just lack of knowing about ours, or maybe we didn't decide? I'm just curious about the process on our end.
Thank you, Commissioner Rogers. Administrator Maury?
Yeah, so we have a very similar RFP process, very similar services. We did not receive an application from CAA for our initial RFP for the first go around.
Rogers?
Thank you. And then my last question is on weatherization. So I'm pretty familiar about the weatherization program, having heard about it for the last several terms that I've served. I just was curious, are there any new innovations or new technologies with energy efficiency with the weatherization program that you could share?
You want to talk about that, Amber, or do you want me to?
I'm trying to think of anything that's new. You know, always trying to find the most energy efficient furnaces and really educating our contracting staff and our weatherization staff on the best methods to use during any part of the job. But a lot of it comes down to what the Department of Energy will allow and requires for the program. Michelle, if you have something to add too.
Just that recently the state has done an accredited training institution within the state of Michigan, and as a part of that training institution, both contractors, so the local contractors the Commissioner Seals spoke about, and then also our weatherization staff are able to access that accredited training facility to help learn about the different measures and energy efficiency work that is allowable or kind of best practice that they have found. And they are looking at different and innovative pieces at the federal level, things like solar energy and that type of thing to put into weatherization. It's not quite down to the program level yet, but they are talking about that at the